First off, how long have you been playing Overwatch for?
Um, Off and on, I would say I want to say since it came out. I had it on my laptop at first, and laptops aren't really good to play games,
Oh,
so I kind of like played it maybe for like a few months on my laptop, and then I took pretty long break on it, and I recently built a PC in December, so I started playing again. So really,
alright.
I can probably be considered a brand new player.
Alright, so you played a little bit at the very beginning, and then you took a couple years off, and then you came back recently?
Yeah.
Alright, and let's say, like, the past 2 weeks or so, how often have you been playing the game?
Every day for maybe like 5 hours.
Alright, and then final question for you is, do you have any questions for me before we begin?
Um, I mean, I do have a lot of questions, but I mean, I'm sure you'll help me answer them
Alright.
while during the coaching.
Yeah, well, if by the end I still haven't answered some of them, then you can go ahead and ask them at the end then. So we can just go ahead and hop right into it. Just I'll be silent for a couple moments until I find something to talk about. All right. So I'm about to maybe think of something to talk about. All right. Mm. All right. So make sure that we're just using our boosters a bit more. So first off, I think we're going to talk about the range at which we use abilities to get to people. So we're at 1 minute and 20 seconds. Um, So we'll just go over to the training range real quick here. Just go over kind of how you can look to combo some of your abilities as well as kind of where you want to be positioning yourself. So basically on Diva, you have what you call spread on your gun. So the further away you get, the less and less damage you do. So when we're right up next to somebody right here, oh, never mind, didn't mean to boop them off the edge there. When we're right next to somebody, we can pretty much shred them to pieces in about like 0.5 seconds, right? But the further and further away we get, that becomes slower and slower. Now, like when we're at like 15 meters, this is pretty decent. We're melting them pretty fast, right? We're doing a little bit of damage, but once we get past that range, now we're doing nothing but tickling them, right? We're basically doing no damage at all. It takes full. It is unrealistic that you ever get a kill like this, right? So basically, we just want to make sure that we're sticking within that distance. And what you can do, and like, if even if we went all over here, we'd be doing absolutely nothing, right? So basically, what we want to do to stay within that distance is when we see somebody, especially when they're on their own or they're low HP, is we want to boost at them, right? We want to use our boosters. This is a 4-second cooldown, so we get this very often, and it's just going to give us a lot of mobility, and it's going to let us get around a lot. So what we want to do is we want to boost at people because that gets us close to them. Now, while we boost at people, we also want to use our missiles because our missiles, unlike our shots, they don't have spread and they don't have fall off, right? So we can do the same amount of damage from all the way back here, right? But the thing is, it's going to be very difficult to hit from back there, right? It's going to be very inaccurate. So when we boost at somebody, so for example, this person's like off on their own, right? So we can boost at them, we can shoot, we can missile, and then when we get right next to them, we can melee as well, right? So we can boost, shoot, missile, right? And we can pretty much just shred them to pieces in a couple of seconds because we're getting right up close to them. So that's how we kind of want to use our abilities and get. That's how we use basically our boosters to get up close to people. Now you don't want to boost straight into the middle of an entire team because then you have 4 seconds before you get it back and they're just going to kill you. But you want to boost at people who are off on their own. You want to use your boost to get up to high grounds. You want to just use your boost to get in close to people. And you don't want to put yourself at a far distance from people because then you're not going to be able to do any damage. Right, so we were on Route 66.
Traveling to route ready for battle.
So we were right about here. I think the next thing we're going to talk about is our defense. Okay, so first off, we're just getting into the bad habit of you don't want to do this. We're just clicking it for no reason, right? And there's no enemies anywhere near us right now. So us clicking is just wasting the resource, and you do want to preserve that resource, because that means that every time you're wasting it here, that means that we're pretty much just coming into this fight with half of our. Excuse me, I'm going to use this term a lot. So if you're not familiar with it, this is what it means. Eat means just using your defense matrix to gobble up damage to just get rid of it. So if I say eat, that's what I'm talking about. Sorry, it's just gamer slang that I'm used to saying. But basically, we're just wasting all of our eat on nothing. We just want to make sure we're using it for stuff, right? Because we're just now we have zero, we have nothing, absolutely nothing coming into this fight. So just make sure that you're not pressing your I believe it's right click to do that.
Yeah, that's something I'm aware of, and I have such a bad habit of
Mhm.
like just doing it. So I'm really trying to practice like just it's like a kind of like a tick I'm doing.
Yep, and it's it's breaking a habit, right? And I think that's a good point to get into, to just talk about this real quick, is that when it comes to really anything that you're trying to work on here, like breaking a habit of just clicking right click, for example, is you just want to make sure that you're focusing on it while you're playing. If we just go throughout our gameplay and we just autopilot, or we just even focus on just winning, then we're never going to really improve, and we're always going to stay the same. So instead, what we do is while we play, we really, really focus in on a particular area or a couple tiny little areas. And for example, here we can focus on making sure we're not right clicking constantly. And then what that does is when we really, really focus in on it, you'll notice that you start to do a little bit better in that area, right? And when you start to do that for a long enough time, it'll form as a habit, or it'll unform your bad habit, right? And then that will mean that now you don't need to put so much attention and brain power into it, right? So just while you're playing, you want to go right click, right click, right click, right click, or eat, 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 and you're just giving yourself a constant reminder to not do it, right? To make sure we're not doing it, and then that way we can break the habit. So just really, really focus in on it while you play. Now we're going to talk about like 30 different things here, so don't focus on 30 different things, because that's going to overwhelm you. Focus on one specific category of things, or like three subcategories. We'll talk about the categories later, but like just focus on 1 to 3 things, not too many at once. Okay. If you feel like you're going too far with your boosters and you want to stop them, you can cancel them in 2 ways. You can either press the boosters again, press the button again, or you can melee and that will cancel it. You just don't want to. That way, you're not boosting into the side of a wall. Like that again, right? We just kind of boosted a little too much. So if you're trying to cancel it, you can melee, and that also can mean that like if you're trying to fly at somebody, that melee can also do some extra damage to finish them off. Make sure you finish off that baby diva. If she's like 1 HP right next to you, we kind of ignore her, right, and just run off to go to something else, right? Just make sure we're focusing her, sticking on the target we're trying to kill. And then again, there's a Genji, and then we just kind of ignore him. So make sure we're not flippy floppy between too many different targets, but we're really focusing on one target unless there's a better opportunity. Okay, right now we want to be going up and doing stuff, not just sitting on cart. So just be using your boosters and going and get these guys, right? Right now, Sigma is trying to 1v4 you guys, right? Very obviously, you're not going to be doing too well if you're trying to 1v4. He's just going to die here. So we want to make sure that we're just getting aggressive to kill him. They have their entire team back in spawn here, right? So when we've just capped the point, pay attention to that, and we can probably go look to kill the Genji as well, right? And these guys are what you would call staggers, right? Basically, in general, a big thing that I'm noticing is just what you call actions per minute, right? If you compare like a bronze player to a grandmaster player or a very high level player, a big difference that you're going to see between the two is that bronze players have very low actions per minute. So they just kind of wander around. You're gonna just shoot at stuff every once in a while. But when you come up against a grandmaster player, they're going to be basically being efficient with every single second of the game, and they're constantly doing something, constantly shooting at something, constantly going to do something, right? So it's just make it actions per minute is just making sure you're doing more and using every single second per minute, not just sitting around, because that's what it looks like we're doing a lot of the time is we're just kind of waltzing around. So we just want to make sure we're going and shooting at things more often. Okay. When it comes to defense matrix usage and how you should be looking to use it, you have two main purposes for your defense matrix and two ways that you're going to look to use it. You don't want to just eat random damage, like just spam damage that like for example, like the diva just shooting at you. Not any damage you want to look to eat. You want to look to target specific abilities. You don't have very much defense matrix, so you want to get the abilities that matter. So you can take a look at the enemy team comp, and this is something you should probably do at the very beginning of the game, because team comp is gonna dictate your play style and how you're changing how you're playing. So basically, we're gonna look at the team. We're gonna go, okay, what important abilities and ultimates do they have that I can eat, right? So for example, we can eat Ashe on their team. We can eat Ashe's dynamite. We can eat Moira's orb, right? Besides that, there's not really much else we can eat, right? But there's going to be a ton of different things that we can eat in general in the game, right? I guess we'll just leave real quick. So there's 2 minutes and 36 seconds, right? You can eat a ton of different things. Ana, you can eat her nade in her sleep, right? Ashe, you can eat her dynamite. Bastion, you can just eat his ultimate as well as his just regular primary fire. On, let's see, skipping over here. Echo, you can eat her sticky bombs. Hanzo, you can eat his ultimate. There's a ton of ultimates that you can look to eat. You can eat McCree ultimates. You can eat Mei ultimate. You can eat Pharah ultimate. You can eat Reaper ultimate. You can eat Roadhog ultimate. You can eat Soldier ultimate, or you can eat Torbjorn ultimate. You can eat Tracer ultimate. You can also eat Zarya ultimate, right? You can eat almost half of the ultimates in the game, and a ton of different abilities in the game. So we just want to pick out specific things that we're trying to purposefully target rather than just using it every couple of seconds, because that'll allow us to manage it better and then also just get more value because we're eating the things that matter and do the most. Right now, then we were like 2 minutes in, we were like somewhere around here. The other thing that you can look to use your defense matrix for, and the other time you can use it, is when you or your teammates are low health, right? I think I saw us doing this on a Reinhardt, and you get this, is that you can look to put your defense matrix around your teammate as a kind of a cone of protection, right? We were doing that earlier on a Reinhardt. We're only really going to want to do that if we see either a ton of damage coming in on top of them, or they are low health. And we can also do that to stop us from taking damage when we're low health, right? So just pay attention to health bars. But we're just wasting the ability a lot because we're not really eating the right things, and we're not really using it in right situations. We're just wasting it a lot of the time. Oh, we're on speed right now. Again, look at the range that we're kind of shooting at, right? We're just going to do tickle damage from here, so make sure we're using boosters to get up next to people. And again, right, it's just very inaccurate to play at this distance and try to use those. All right, instead of sitting on cart, make sure you're like going and trying to do stuff. In general, you only ever really need one person on cart. You don't need to be sitting cart here. When the fight's still going on, look to go and kill these guys and participate and do things. We're just, again, actions per minute. We're just kind of sitting around here. Again, we kind of end up boosting way too far past her. And then once again, we're also swapping our targets back and forth, where we're on the diva, she's half health, and then we swap over to the Sigma. We just want to make sure we're constantly on the same thing. And then I think here we're going to talk about, actually, there's only, all right, so here we're going to talk about target priority. So what should you be looking to shoot at? So in the game, in general, you just don't want to shoot tanks too often, right? Tanks have 2 to 3 times the health of other characters, right? So they're harder to kill. They have shields and defensive abilities such as Defense Matrix, right? And they have mobility such as, Diva's boosters, right? So they're very difficult to kill. On top of that, DPS and supports just do more statistical output, right? So for example, right, supports do healing, DPS do damage, tanks, their main job, even though they are a very important role, their job is to protect the DPS and the supports. So therefore, we just want to make sure we're focusing these guys, which we can get to very easily by using our boosters, right? We can get to the supports and the DPS pretty easily. We just want to make sure that we're focusing them. So rather than shooting the Diva here and rather than shooting the Sigma, we want to be looking at the Genji or the Mercy. Probably the Mercy would be the easiest to go for here because we can burst it down very fast and she doesn't really, it's very hard for her to get away from us. But that's not to say that we never shoot at tanks, right? There are times where we can shoot at them. For example, when they are low health, when they are out of position. So they're like, for example, the Diva here is like right inside of your team on point, really far away from our team. So this means that she's in a very bad position and or another, again, I don't want to use gamer terms if you're semi new. Positioning meaning kind of where they're standing, right? So Diva's standing in a bad spot, basically, here. And that's a situation where we can look to shoot at her. Or if she's low, which again, she's also pretty low health. Um, those are situations where it's okay. Or if tanks are the only thing that we can shoot at, right? If we can't actively get to the supports or the DPS. But in general, when we have equal opportunity, which here we do, we could very easily just swap over to the Mercy pretty easily. We want to go for the Mercy or the Genji. Right? Make sure that when we're using our bomb, that we're tossing it in a direction that has most people in it. So, with your bomb, right, it will follow the trajectory of where you're boosting. So 325, right? We go to the training range and we charge up a bomb here. Basically, when you're looking for a bomb and you're boosting with your bomb, it will go in the direction that you're boosting. And that means that we want to look to throw it up in the air where the enemy team's at, right? There we kind of threw it in the wrong direction. Like the enemy team, it was kind of in the opposite direction of the enemy team. So let's just get this up real quick. Right, what it kind of looked like there was like the enemy team's all over here, right? They're all standing over here. And what we did was we boosted this direction away from them and threw our bomb, which meant that bomb only got one person. Instead, what we can look to do is two different things. First off, we can just look straight up. We can boost for a little bit. We don't want to bomb immediately because that means it would explode in the air, but we can boost for a little bit. Then we can bomb. It'll have time to drop, and then it'll explode, right? Now, the other thing that we can do is we can throw it in at a diagonal angle, right? And toss it and just kind of stand on the side of the fight and do it, right? But what we ended up doing was we just kind of sent it out of the fight. We don't want to do that. We just want to send it, make sure it's coming into the fight around as many people as we can get it, right? So we'll get this again, right? So with the other thing, this one's probably going to be the easiest, is just go like this, and we can kind of go on an angle, and we press boost, bomb, right? So shift, bomb, and it just lands on top of them, right? That's what we're kind of trying to look for when we're using a bomb, is just getting it in as many people as we can. Here we just kind of sent it in the wrong direction.
Traveling to route ready for battle.
Right, okay, so it's a little bit ahead of this. So here you can see like we launched it away from all of them, right? Instead, if we're already inside of them, what we can do is just launch it straight up. That way it ends up falling on top of everyone, right? The other thing to pay attention to here is the kill feed, right? So this comes in what you call awareness, of just being aware of your surroundings. On the top right corner of your screen, you have kill feed. This thing tells you when you have kills and when you don't have kills, when your team's up people, when your team's down people, right? Why that's super important is because, like we've just said a couple times, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus one person is a most certainly a bad decision, or most certainly a death, right? We're gonna die, no question asked. 6 versus 1 isn't a fair fight, right? That means that in this situation, we probably should not be ulting. So how you can look to read kill feed on the top right is when our team is up 1 to 2 people, we have an advantage, right? We didn't win the fight yet, but we're winning the fight, and therefore we want to play more aggressive. We want to be going faster because they have less people to shoot at us, less people to heal, less people to tank, and therefore we can be more aggressive. Now, when we are up 2 to 3 people, we want to be getting super aggressive. Now, when we've won a fight, we don't want to use our ultimates because if we that fight is already won, then using our ultimate is just overkill, right? Doesn't do anything. So we want to pay attention to that so we're not ulting, and then we also want to get super aggressive and not just sit on cart. Right? The second thing is this also goes the other side, it flips around. When you're down 1 to 2 people, that means that you're at a disadvantage. You didn't lose the fight yet, you just might want to play a little bit more passive. You don't have as many teammates. Right? Now when you are down 2 to 3 people, that is where the fight's lost. This is this fight, right? We see kill feed, we just lost 3 teammates, and it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus 2. Every other person is in spawn, right? Therefore, this is a lost fight, right? In a lost fight, you don't want to use your ultimate because this ultimate will not change the fact that it's a lost fight, right? We get a kill and then we die, and then it didn't change a thing that we still lost the fight. So instead, we hold on to it and we come into the next fight with that ultimate, and it's going to get more value in the next fight, right? On top of that, I don't see it's not a problem here, but when you've lost the fight, make sure that you look to get out if possible, or look to let them kill you so that you don't end up staggering yourself. Now, are you familiar with the term staggering?
No.
No. So staggering just basically means dying late. When you die late, that means that you come out of spawn super late. So here, like we can see us in comparison to like the Hanzo. We died very late, and look at where Hanzo's already at, right? So we can watch our respawn timer here, right? And by the time that we get our respawned, we have half of our team all the way up here, right? So what this means is that because we died late, it means basically 2 things. First off, if our team waits for us and doesn't go in, then we've just wasted time off the time bank, right? We're just wasting time from our team. And the second thing is if they do go in without us, then now they're down a person, which, like we just said, puts them at a disadvantage. So either way, we don't want to end up staggering ourselves and dying late, so that we can be with our team when they all go in, so that we don't make any complications or problems. The other thing that can end up happening is if we stagger first, then that means that Hanzo pushes up, and if Hanzo dies here, then he staggered himself, and then maybe Zenyatta pushes forwards, and then he died and he staggered, and then they go to spawn, and then we have to wait on them. But then maybe Reinhardt's not paying attention, and he goes in, right, and then he dies. So that starts what you call a stagger train, where you guys just keep going in one by one by one by one, and that's a real problem because you never go in 6v6, right? So that all that stuff just gets a little bit complicated. Just want to make sure we're being with our team, right? Is what it all summarizes down to. Like here, for example, we're down 3 people, right? 3 people just died. We can see that on the kill feed. We can see it if we can see our teammates through walls, so we can see that through walls, right? There's 3 dead bodies over here. So if we went in right now, that would be a bad decision because it's a 3v6, right? And that's a very, very big disadvantage. And a lot more misuse of our defense matrix here. Or we're just kind of eating every time we get it and not really eating anything in particular. Again, we're also trying to play at a very, very far distance. So we want to kind of get a lot closer to them. So we want to push ourselves closer. So for example, we can go to the left here and get over here, and then now we can like maybe go under here and get next to the ash, or we can fly up top here and like drop on top of them, or we could just come over here and fly up to the high ground and get next to these guys, right? We just want to be getting close to them because we're not going to be doing any damage like I showed you in the training range from this distance. All right, make sure you're paying attention to your surroundings. Now, this gets a little bit... Oh, sorry, 1 second. I have a phone going off in my background. I'll take care of that. Sorry, I'm back. So, basically here there's a bomb. We know that there's a bomb because on our screen there's a big exclamation point that only happens when there's a Diva bomb or a Tracer pulse bomb, right? So here we're seeing in a moment, right? We hear Diva yell, "Nerf this!" Right? We see on the corner of our screen. It's the big exclamation point, right? Comes in on top of us, and it kind of goes in the direction of where it's at, and we just want to make sure that when it's coming in that we're looking to use cover. So this is where positioning comes into play. Um, Good positioning, or why don't we go with this? It's 418. This is just a good one to go over in training range because this applies to all characters in the game. All right, so we'll go over to Diva. All right. So if we're standing right here and they throw a bomb on the floor right there, it takes us. Let's do that. We can do this without boosters and with boosters, right? It takes us 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind the corner, right? Or if we do use boosters, it takes us 1, 2 seconds to get behind the corner, right? In that time, we died to bomb because of how far away from the cover we were, because we're standing right here. Now, when we're over here, right, we can, now if the bomb happens, right, or we have 6 people shooting at us or ulting, or we just have a bunch of damage coming in, right, it takes us half of a second to get behind cover, and now bomb can't get us. We can dodge around the cover because you can't shoot through solid walls. That can't happen. So therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover, right? That's what you call like walls is just cover, right? And bad positioning is the absence of cover, is being on the open, straying away from cover. And there's a lot of different types of cover, right? You have a slope like this, right? They can see us, they can't see us. You have pillars, right, that you can go when you're low health, when you're going to take a lot of damage. You have corners are a big one. Right? You can use like objects like this to block damage. You can use the payload like that, right? You use corners, pillar, doorway, corner, and high grounds. We'll talk about high grounds real quick because high grounds are really good. High grounds are really fantastic positioning because they all act as natural cover. So while we're up here, right, they can see us, they can't see us. He can see us, now he can't see us, right? We can move away from the ledge and now they can't see us, so therefore it all acts as natural cover and is really, really good positioning. On top of that, all of high ground acts as really good positioning because most characters in the game can't get up to us, right? About half of them can't get up to us without using the stairway, which takes them a super long time. And then the characters that can get to us, they need to use abilities, which means that they're now out of abilities. So high ground's going to give us a ton of survivability and keep us alive a long time. The other thing the high ground does for us is it gives us a lot of visibility. Now, we don't want to be, as Diva, we don't want to stay on high grounds too long because we just end up being super far away from people, but it gives us the option to be here 1 second and then be over here in the next second, right? Whereas when we're on a low ground, right, we don't have access to we can't see anything on the high ground. We can't see anything over there, so we just lose a lot of options on where to go. We can't see anything over there, right? When we're on the high ground, we can be over here in half a second. Right, so high ground you just be something you want to be looking to take all the time, but as long as it's within your range, right, within your range to shoot at people and it's inside of the fight, right? The fight could be happening over there, and we could be on a high ground all the way over here, and this would be a terrible spot because we're nowhere near the fight, right? And we're super far away from people.
Traveling to route ready for battle.
All right, so coming back to here, where are we? I don't even know where we were at. Okay, so we were here. We got demeched. Make sure we're not shooting at solid objects, right? We can't shoot through things, so make sure we're aiming around them. We're also aiming in the air quite a bit, it looks like. Just want to make sure we're keeping our crosshair at body level, and we're keeping it along this field of view right here, right? Just straight forward, so we're not looking up in the air, because you can see where our crosshair's at. That we're looking. Oh, that's not us. That we're looking up quite a bit here. Now we're shooting at the ash here, but like you can see on these guys, we're looking up a little too high. Okay. Here, we're playing a little too far back. I know you're trying to play safe, but as long as you're using cover properly, like we can use the payload as cover, we can use these doorways as cover, right? As long as we're using cover properly, we're probably not gonna end up dying, so we can be a little bit closer than sitting this far in the back. Okay. We're spending a lot of time not really shooting at much. Make sure that when there's nothing to shoot at, that you're not just wasting bullets. You can use that time to reload, or you can use that time to look for somebody else to shoot at. But we just spend a lot of time shooting at walls and shooting at nothing, right? We just want to make sure that we're not doing that. Right. You got a mech back. Very nice. Okay, so from this distance, we're not really able to do very much. So what we could be doing here is, instead of maybe just running straight at them this way, we could go to the top left and with a booster, right? And then this can get us a lot closer, right? Like this is a lot closer of a distance, right? This is within the 10-meter distance we were talking about. Then all the way back here is, right? We could go right side and be within like kind of a similar distance, right? We just want to be getting close to people. We don't want to be sitting in place really far away from them. And we also have a transcendence going, so we could actually just run straight at them, right? Because we have a transcendence that would keep us alive because it heals us very, very fast. And we also probably just want to be more towards like where Reinhardt is, and just you can pretty much like stay on top of him here. Okay, so awareness seems like it's lacking a little bit. So there's a lot of different types of awareness, right? Of knowing what's happening around you. We talked about kill feed earlier. So far, I don't think you have too much of a problem watching your HUD, which is just like your ult charge, your abilities, your health. Not much of a problem there. Also with your ultimate, I like that we used it fast and we didn't like hold on to it for a super long time. But back to awareness, right? We want to make sure that we're using our ears and listening, right? Not just looking around, but we're also using our audio, right? So I have my volume right now at 20%. I usually have this at 100% when I'm playing. So you just turn up your volume if you feel like you need to. But the other thing is just making sure that we're paying attention to it, like we were talking about earlier. Is just really focus on it. Listen to footsteps. Listen to shots. Listen to ultimates and abilities. Here we have two different scenarios where we miss audio awareness, and you can hear this when I turn the volume up here because you probably couldn't hear it too well. But we have a Genji standing to our right side here, right behind us. He starts shooting at stuff for a really long time. You can hear shurikens being fired. And then we also have an Ashe who's sitting really, really far in the back here, who you end up actually pretty much looking in the direction of, and you can hear her shooting. Yeah, we don't look at her, right? So here, just listen up for a minute. I'm going to be quiet while you listen. Right, so you could hear Genji was throwing some shurikens. He used his deflect. He was jumping around. We could hear him walking. We just want to make sure we're paying attention to that and listening for it. Here, we're about to hear the Ashe in a moment. Right, she yells, "Bob, do something." We heard her shooting. So it's a little bit of a delayed reaction. Now this is very loud, and I can't hear myself talk when I have have it that high. So that's why I don't put it that high while I'm playing, or while I'm coaching. Sorry. Okay, backing up super far. That's called positioning. Right, again, is just make sure we're in range of people to be able to shoot at them. Excuse me. Right now, we could probably be looking for a bomb. We can just launch this straight like diagonally up in the air like this at this angle, where you just kind of launch it up. It lands pretty much right in the middle of all of them. They're all standing out in the open, right? So this would be a very easy time to do it. The other thing is you want to make sure that you're using it early in a fight, right? This fight has pretty much just started. You don't want to hold on to it too long. The longer you hold on to your ultimate, the less value it gets, right? Because the longer you hold on to your ultimate, it just means that you're getting less ultimates in total, and ultimates are very powerful abilities, so you want to have a ton of them. if you use it now, you start charging up your next one. And then on top of that, ultimates that aren't used just don't get value flat out. So we just want to use it. We also want to use it at the start of the fight here, because when you don't use it at the start of the fight, you're not going to get as much value. So ults that are used first get more value than ults that are used second. A good comparison for that is to say, for example, the enemy diva, right? If she uses bomb first, she gets kills, and therefore they have an advantage. And if we use bomb second, it's just not going to get as much follow up because we're already down people. So ultimates that are used first just get more value than ultimates that are used second. And it could also, if we hold on to it for too long, we could end up losing the fight before we get a chance to ult, and then we never get to use our ult, right? So we just want to make sure we're using it here pretty early. We're not holding on to it. Oh. Okay. So why you want to just, rather than just plopping it on the ground here, it's better to get an angle with it because it makes it more unpredictable, right? Especially, there's a lot, you can get a lot more complicated with it the higher up in ranks you go, but a very basic one that people have learned to do is just come at an angle or go straight up in the air, because when it goes straight up in the air, it can catch more people. So for example, look at bomb right now. If somebody was hiding around this corner right here, bomb would not be able to hit them. If it's up in the air, bomb would be able to hit them because look at the line of sight angle now, right? So bomb it's actually going to be able to hit more people. It actually hit people on high ground, right? If they're on high ground here, it hits more people, and on top of that, it makes it more unpredictable about where it's going to be and where it's going to land, which makes it harder to dodge and get around cover. So here, good. I like the timing's pretty decent. I like that especially that we're not holding on to it forever, because I know people who would hold. I've coached people who hold on to their ultimates for 4 fights in a row. So that's really good that we're not holding on to it. We just want to make sure we're using it a bit better by throwing it up in the air, because as you saw, everyone just ducked around the corner, and then it was very easy to dodge. All right. Okay, a whole lot of more eating nothing. Now, if they swap some characters, so let's relook at that. Genji, we don't really have anything that we can eat too well. McCree, we can eat his ultimate, right? Now, not besides that, we can maybe eat his flashbang, but that's about it. Diva, we don't really have anything else we can eat much. Zarya, though, we can eat her right? Her ultimate again. Moira, we can eat all of the orbs that she throws, and those are all of the main abilities and ultimates that we want to just be paying attention to. That way we don't end up, we can get the max value out of our defense matrix, as well as not waste it on things, right? We're just kind of eating a lot when it's not necessary, and then what that ends up doing is it just wastes time where we could be shooting at them, right? So just pay attention to health bars of teammates, pay attention to when you actually need to eat, because you're not needing it here. On top of that, keep in mind you cannot eat the beam, right? Zarya's beam will go through your eat. You can't actually eat that, right? You can eat her right click when she fires out a big ball, but you can't eat the beam that she has here. If you're trying to get up to them, right, just boost straight at them. It's a 4-second cooldown. Just look to use it more often. Oftentimes here, the big thing with our abilities is we're just not getting close to people, and it's very hard to use our rockets, and it's very hard to shoot at people when we're not getting close to people. And then our boosters can help us do that by boosting at them. Like a McCree there would have been a super easy kill had we just boosted at him. There we're not really eating very much, so just another bad habit of just wasting it. On top of that, pay attention to kill feed, because here we're coming in when it is a 3v2, right? And then on top of that, the other thing is that they have close spawns here, which means that they're going to be, look at where their spawn is, right? It's right here. and then our spawn is all the way back here, right? So they have a closer spawn point to the fight, which means they're going to be getting players much faster. So this is a lost fight, and we want to look to back out here, not go back in, because now we're just going to be giving them ult charge. We're going to be staggering ourselves and just wasting time and energy and effort. All right, so we do get out, so that's really good. Good job on that end. All right, good job getting out again. When you're low health, make sure you request healing. That way your supports can know where you're at. Now they're respawning, so they don't actually that other support can get to you. But it's a good habit to get into to request healing. Oh, I heard it. Nice. All right, very good. Right now, we want to just probably be getting a health pack so we can get our health back online, as well as the fact that we can request healing again if we see that we're still half HP. Just pay attention to our health bar. Usually, health packs are just going to be littered around side rooms. It's never going to be on the main path. It's always going to be on the side of a fight, right? So in this room, there's a mega health pack. This room, there's a mini health pack, right? There's a mega health pack up here. On the right side, there's a mini health pack, right? It's always on a side room. Right now, in here, there's nothing. Actually, I don't think there's many on this point. Right over here, it's just this mega over here, this mega over here, and then that's pretty much it on second. Over here, right, we have this one, this one. It's always on a side room. Also, you'll notice it's never on high grounds as well. Right, that's how you can just look to locate those a little bit easier. We just want to get our health back before we're going in aggressive. Oh, so reaction there was a little bit late. Right, again, audio awareness as well as visual awareness. Make sure we're paying attention to our screen and we're not tunnel visioning on our crosshair or just kind of doing a slow pan, but we want to make sure that we're paying attention to left and right, and we're looking up at high grounds, and we're doing a 360 once in a while. We want to pay attention to the enemy team and our team and where those characters are at. So here, we just end up not paying attention to him while he's ulting, and we could have helped prevent him from killing someone, right? Because this is like we were talking about, this is an ultimate that we can look to eat and soak up the damage from. So he's right there, right next to us, right? Just we see him clearly. Right, so this is I like that we're using boosters to get to people, but I do not, like we said before, this is not the time and place that you want to be using it. You don't want to just boost out straight into the middle of their team, because that means that they can all turn around and look at you and focus you. Instead, we want to go for people who are out of position. So for example, we could go on the McCree right here, who's low HP and very close to our team, and who our team can focus pretty easily. Right, we could also focus the Zarya, who's in the middle of our team, right, who could team up and focus really easily. We just don't want to boost straight into them here. All right. All right, not much we could do there that on the recontest. Okay, here we want to be a little bit closer. We don't want to be so far back to start off. That way we can just get some damage in. Right, a good spot that we could probably be in that would allow us to do some more would be like top right here, for example, where we can contest that. We talked about how high ground is super good, right? But that also means that it's super good for the enemy team too, right? So if we, for example, are over here and we can shoot at them and push them off with boosters and contest the soldier, this means that it gives the advantage to our team and takes away the advantage from the enemy team. Here, because he has it, he just has the advantage and he gets to use it for free. Right? This would also put us in range to where we can just use our, we can shoot at people correctly, like and actually do damage from here, whereas from here we're not really doing much damage. We just want to be a little bit careful because over there we are really far forwards. Right, so they swap some characters. So what are good things to eat now? Right, we could eat Soldier Helix. We can, if Doomfist comes in and uppercuts someone, we can eat our teammate to help them out. We can eat Zarya Grab again, and we can eat Moira Orbs. Again, just sitting really, really far away from people, not really able to do much from here. So just positioning, we want to put ourselves at people. Audio awareness, Doomfist is behind us, right? We hear him punching at us, shooting at us. You'll also notice that your screen also gives you other indications other than just the audio here, right? So when Doomfist shoots at us, oh, look at right next to your crosshair there. You'll notice that red damage that indicates which direction you are taking damage from. You'll also notice at the bottom right corner of your screen, it's really tiny right now. It usually gets bigger. It's bigger with more damage that they're doing, but you see a little bit some red streaks, which again tell you which direction damage is coming from. So you can see it still. You see kind of red marks coming from behind you, red marks coming from underneath your crosshair, and that's just all indications that you're taking damage from behind, right? Same thing with your audio. We just never notice because we're not looking and listening. We just want to make sure we're paying attention, and then that will allow us to do some things better. Right. Good job paying attention to your health bar, though. I do think that we have a really good grasp on on watching our HUD. I think that is the one part of awareness that we're doing really, really good on, is just paying attention to our health bar, paying attention to our ultimate. We're not holding on to that, so there are some good aspects there. Make sure that when you're low, though, that you're requesting healing. We're not just kind of running around, right? That your Ana is right next to you, and if she didn't notice that you were there, requesting healing will let her give you an in-game audio cue, right? I'm here. You can also, if she's not paying attention, is just walk in front of her face, right? That way she just sees you. Right, because we're still low. We still want to get healing back up. We're still only 200 health. Again, you can kind of see that our main focus is kind of tanks always. Alright, and then that's a lost fight. Alright, just taking a look at what's happening. Remember to use your boosters, right? Whenever trying to travel a long distance of space, we're using our boosters so we get there faster, right? We're going to be taking a lot less damage if we're just leaving the out in the open faster and we're getting to cover. Here we just kind of, we don't use our boosters when we have them. It's a 4-second cooldown. You get them very frequently, so right here we have them again, and we don't use them when we could be using them to boost in this room and get away from people faster. Other thing is when you're low, remember the defense matrix. On top of that, we have a health pack right underneath here, right? So just pay attention to all the things that can keep you alive. Alright, so we are going to leave that, and we're going to do a wrap-up review along with kind of the main points of what you want to look to work on. And then we can also open up to questions at the end just for you to know if you have any other additional questions on top of that. So starting off with ability usage, just with our defense matrix, we talked about making sure that you're eating the right things, right? You're not just eating random spam, and you're not make sure you're not tap clicking and you're getting out of the habit of that. You don't want to just keep doing this because then you just waste it all. Right, make sure that we're not using it when someone's just normal shooting, but we're specifically saving it for abilities or ultimates, and we're paying attention to their team comp so we can look for abilities and ultimates. And then the second thing we can use it for is if someone is low. So like if these guys, for example, like we don't want to eat it now because this is just wasting it, but if they do some damage and this guy's 1 HP, we can put our cone of protection around him and eat the damage so it doesn't kill him, right? So that's the time that we can use it. We can also use it when we're low HP as well, right? Missiles, no problem with it. I think we're using it pretty frequently, other than we're using it from like really far away. So that comes down to our positioning. We're trying to do it from like here, and that just makes it very difficult to do damage with, when we could be a lot closer, which will allow you to kill people easier. Also, you're going to get the best usage out of it when you're comboing it with just your regular shooting, right? Because if you're using your missiles on its own, right, or you're using your regular shooting on its own, it just kills them slower than if you use them both together, right? You can use them both together to shred someone to pieces really, really fast, right? We can just kill them super, super fast because that we're doing 2 different sources of damage. So really look for that, right? Boosters, make sure you're using them more often, especially when we're just trying to get to high grounds, trying to get to places faster. Make sure we're using them to close the distance on people, and we're getting right in people's faces with it, right? When we're boosting in, make sure as well that you know that you can cancel it by pressing it a second time, right? By just clicking it twice, that can cancel it, as well as you can cancel it by meleeing. So we don't want to. What we'd end up doing is we would end up trying to boost at somebody, but then we just like keep boosting and we wouldn't know what to do with the rest of it. So instead, just make sure that you're canceling it right as we boost at them, so we're not going too far. So like here, we just fly at them, we'd missile, and then we'd cancel our boosters when we get to them. Right. Now that's on with abilities. Ultimate, good, really, really good timing with it. Make sure good job not holding on to it. Just make sure you're using it at the very beginning of fights. Look to throw it in at like an upwards angle to where it's going above them, or it covers more. It's unpredictable. Don't just plop it on the floor. Throw it. You can throw it up in the air, or you can throw it diagonally like this. And then that just makes it very hard to predict where it's going, and it covers a lot of area as well. Right. Now moving on to mechanics, which is just like your aim and your shooting and stuff. Honestly, not too much of a problem. You were able to shoot things like pretty accurately. It was mainly the big issue was just you were too far away to actually do damage, right? Other than that, you had good tracking and you were able to shoot things correctly. Only thing in this I would put in this category would be our priority targets, and making sure that we're shooting at the right things, not just tanks, but we're shooting at DPS and healers who are easier to kill and just get more value, right? Now, moving on to positioning, right? A couple different things. First off, make good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. So if we're out in the open, that's bad positioning. If we're next to something, it's good positioning. So when we're trying to close the gap and get closer to people, we're always trying to move from one bit of cover to the next bit of cover, right? So if we're trying to get to point over there, instead of just waltzing straight through the middle, we can go from here to over here, right? So now we're behind this cover, and then we can look to maybe defense matrix ourselves across the gap here and get to this side. Right now we're behind cover, and then we can get our abilities back and our health back, and then we can go in, right? So you just look to move from cover to cover, and you're using cover as often as you can get it. Now, besides that, big major thing with our positioning is just making sure that we're close to people, because that's how you do damage. You don't do any damage when we're back over here, because it's just tickle damage. We don't do anything, right? We're doing absolutely nothing on their health bar, and it's gonna be really hard to hit missiles from here as well. All right. Now on to awareness. Awareness, we just want to make sure that you're paying attention to a bunch of different things, right? Pay attention to your kill feed, right? That'll tell you when you're winning and losing fights, and it will allow you to make better decisions. Pretty much, how it works is you are incapable of making good decisions if you don't know what's happening, right? If we don't know our whole team's dead, we can't decide to not use our ultimate. But if we know our whole team's dead, we can decide to make the good decision of holding on to our ultimate. So we just want to make sure that we're being aware of our environment, right? So now that was the first thing, was just paying attention to the kill feed. Second thing is paying attention to our surroundings. So just looking left, looking right, do a 360, look around us, pay attention to where the enemy bots or enemy teammates are at, right? And where our teammates are at. Right? One part of awareness that you do not need to work on is your HUD watching. That was really, really good. Just make sure as well that when you see that your health is low, that you're requesting healing and you're finding a health pack. Right. Then on from there, make sure you're keeping up your audio awareness as well, and then we're listening for footsteps. Turn up your volume if you need to. Listen for shooting. Listen for ultimates and voice lines, right? And things that can tell us where the enemy team is at. Right. Now that is pretty much it for awareness. So now on to kind of the main points. What do you want to work on first? I'd probably say that the biggest thing for you to work on was positioning, as that, especially just being super far away from people, resulted in us doing very, very little, right? We just weren't really able to shoot at much. We weren't doing any damage. We weren't ever able to get kills, and that just resulted in a big problem. So we just want to make sure we're next to cover. We're also putting ourselves next to people. Number two, is our ability usage, right? So with our ability usage, you want to make sure that, again, you're getting close to people for them, that you're using your missiles and you're boosting at people and using the combo where you can do a lot of damage like that, right? Use your boosters just more often to get around. It's a 4-second cooldown, right? You can use it to get to high grounds. Defense matrix. Sorry, I'm just repeating myself right now. So just cooldowns, right? That's the second thing to work on. Third thing to work on is probably going to be your awareness, right? And paying attention to things that's going on around you. Number 4 is going to be your ultimates, and then number 5 is going to be your mechanics. Ultimates actually looking very solid, and mechanics looking really, really good, and no real big problems with mechanics. All right. Do you have any questions about anything that we've gone over?
No, I mean, I feel like it's as silly as it sounds. Like, I figured the things you tell me to work on, like, I was kind of aware I had to work on them, but I like that you showed me, like, kind of how to work on them. That was really helpful.
Yeah, well, no problem. So if that's it, then we can just go ahead and wrap the session up. So